Welcome to Take One Those Chefs. Now my guest today is Marie Hernandez. Marie is a digital entrepreneur, business coach and an expert in sponsored travel. I spoke to her about how she has helped business owners with their desire to travel to dream destinations in exchange for strategic posts on social media without chasing sponsors. All of that and much more. So let's take a look. Marie, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me on the show. Happy to be here.
People who don't know who you are, just explain a little bit about yourself.
My name is Marie Hernandez. I am a perpetual traveler. I'm a digital entrepreneur, business coach, and an expert in sponsored travel.
We'll go into your business, your career in more detail slightly later. I just wanted to take it back and find out exactly how you fell in love with travel. So for you, where did it all begin?
So my father was in the military, so I was kind of born into a family who traveled often for his work, for his job. So we traveled around the world, and I fell in love with it very early on. I loved different cultures. I loved meeting people specifically. I love learning about people's stories, where they're from and their passions and what they do in culture. And I'm a foodie too, so it all fit very perfectly. It was just, I always say travel's part of my DNA from birth, and it very much seems that way. As a child, we lived in Panama for the longest.
Okay.
And that was wonderful because we were among expats. So there was people from all over the world. And then we were also among the army people because, there was Americans, there was a mix. But I really loved the people there and the culture. My father his background is Spain, and he was born and raised in Puerto Rico. So we have that Spanish background. So there was some similarities, but there was enough differences that it was intriguing, and that was really my first kind of where I dove into a culture because it surrounded me, and I fell in love with the people. So that impacted me the most to kind of live, as an expat in that environment and learn the different cultures. And it was just very interesting. And, along with it comes the different foods and the arts and all those other things. So it was wonderful.
So your business then, how did that all begin? How did that all start?
So when I moved to Singapore, I was there on sponsorship through my husband because his job, he had a big corporate job as well, and they moved him there for the work, and I had to leave my job behind. Was not unhappy because, like I said, I really wasn't happy with corporate world. But when we moved to Singapore, I had never been to Southeast Asia at that point. It was just thrilling for me to be able to do that. So I took that opportunity to travel because Singapore is centrally located to Malaysia and Indonesia and all those countries there. And so I used that opportunity to do a little traveling. And I started a very small blog, and it was really mainly to send back stories and photos to the family so that they could just go click in one place and everybody look, and to brag a little bit because it was wonderful. Very quickly on, I knew that on some level I was going to turn this into my life. I think it was month 5 or 6 where I knew, all right, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm called to do. So I decided to start looking at bigger bloggers and asking them for help and, getting information. And I hired my first coach. She was just literally a blogging coach, how you get started, this is what you need to do. And we were in one of our sessions and I said, I want to monetize this, but I don't want to monetize it and just kind of make money here and there. I really want to blow this up and make really good money. Like, what are some of the things that I could do? And she mentioned social media marketing that was coming into, because this was probably 2010 and social media wasn't anything what it is today.
Yeah, definitely
Nothing
not.
what it was
Definitely
today.
not in terms of how to monetize it anyway. That wasn't the case
Not
at the
as
time.
Yes, exactly. So that didn't really appeal to me. I wasn't really, I didn't really want to go that way. And she mentioned something in passing about sponsored travel. She said, well, there's a way to exchange like a review and some pictures for staying 1 or 2 nights at a hotel or having a meal here and there. And I mean, my brain just kind of like, bing, like, wait a minute, what is this? And she told me what she could, about the exchange. You take a picture, and at the time, remember, there were no stories, there were no videos yet on social media. None of that existed. So it literally was a review on your blog. And that was pretty much it for pictures. And I thought, I love this concept. So I dove into that. I really like, I'm a dog with a bone. When I see something I wanted to know everything about it. So I really started reaching out to bloggers that were very successful. And they didn't know much more than she did. And that didn't deter me. I was like, okay, now I really have to figure this out. So I'm a little cheeky that way. I'll go outside the box, and I contacted in Singapore. There was a director for the Ritz Carlton. Her office was in there, but she was the Ritz Carlton in Kuala Lumpur. And I just looked her up on Facebook. I sent her a message, and I found her. She didn't get that, so I found her office number. I literally called her up and asked her to coffee. And she said yes. So I met her for coffee, and she actually said to me, "You're the first person who's ever done this. I love this. I think that it's really, it's great." So I picked her brain for about an hour. I told her my idea, and she had given that exchange, site tours, meals at certain restaurants that were opening up, tours that they would have. She said, "I'm familiar with sponsored travel, and I do give bloggers, special things once in a while." And I said, "What would it take to sponsor me for 3, 4, 5 days?" She's like, "Wow, that's a good question. I've never done that before." So that challenge, that was my challenge. Like, how do I figure that out? And I kind of, one of my superpowers I like to say is predicting things. So I knew where social media was going to go. It was just, like every day it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I followed that trend. And very early on, I started using it as a way to get instant advertising for different places and different things. And so I built that following. And as the time changed, things changed as well. It's about engagement now, not about numbers. It used to be all about having 1 million followers or 1 million likes on your photo. Not like that anymore. So it was a learning process. And then I realized what I wanted to do was to create a resource for other bloggers, other digital nomads, other digital entrepreneurs who wanted to incorporate sponsored travel on that level, because it's about creating and it's developing relationships with these sponsors so that you can go on to monetize later. And that's my business. That's really what I do now. But I also, like I said, I'm a perpetual traveler. So I travel the world, but I slow travel. So I stay in places, 2 to 3 months, and then I move on. And if I love them, I go back, and which often happens. Italy happens to be my heart home right now. I absolutely in love with it. I've been back about 7 times. And so, yeah.
Depending on who it is, how far they are in terms of, let's say, blogging, how far they are in terms of influence as an influencer on a platform, would it be then based on, right, this is the time scale we can work on, this is how we can get you there? Or can it be, as you just said there, not necessarily the big numbers in terms of you've got 6 million followers or 100,000
Exactly.
followers, you've got the engagement, and the engagement is what we can work with. This is how we can potentially approach brands. Is it a bit of both? And is that how you would approach your work with someone who, let's say it was me who came to you?
Yes and no. So it is no longer. So years ago, it was about the blog. And you'd put a review on the blog, and then they might go to your social media. Now everything's about that social media. And no longer is it about being necessarily an influencer. As a matter of fact, the trend right now with the sponsors that I work with around the world is they stay away from influencers. And the reason why is because an influencer is sort of like, here's a picture of me in front of your facility. I got 19 million likes on it. Now I want, 5,000 days with you. It's getting to be a little bit over the top with them. They want to develop that relationship. They want to know that the people that follow you know, like, and trust you. And that if you come to their facility or you use their service and you're creating a social media package, which that's what my program does as well, it helps you to create a social media package, which is essentially you put together whatever your expertise is. Some people come to me as a photographer, videographer, drone expert. Some people come to me, they have a product. I have a student that creates coloring books for adults. and it's called Culture to Color, and she puts all these beautiful photos that you can color with the description of the destination. And so it's worldwide. She wins awards, and they want to be in that book, so they'll give her sponsorship. She comes and spends a week with them, and they take 3 or 4 pages, and they know that that's the people are going to be engaged in that. So it's not about the numbers on a photo as much as it's about really developing a relationship. My program is a year-long program because it takes you from understanding your niche, and you have to really develop the engaged following. You have to develop that know, like, and trust factor with your audience. And then you're the bridge between your audience and the sponsor. They want to know that your audience cares about you, that you have passion for what you do, and you're going to bring that passion to the package that you put together. So each of my clients that come to me, each of my students that come to me, they are different. We all have different passions. We all have different loves for what we do. We all have different niches. And it's very important to make sure that the messaging that you're putting across is put in there as well. So it's puzzle pieces that we put together for each individual within a mastermind. And then we move forward from there. And I take them through the whole process of that, then pitching and finding the right aligned sponsor, working with them, and then going on to monetize. You can go on to monetize your whatever you're offering as well, and we figure that out too.
And what are the common mistakes that people make that you sort of resolve, really? Is there something
Yeah.
that is very common? It's like, you know what? It happens all the time. It's going to be an easy path for us to go here.
The biggest mistake is people just don't think that they don't think outside the box. So they're just thinking, okay, it's just about taking a picture or putting video together, or the numbers. I need all these numbers, and it's not about that. It's really about building relationships through messaging and really being yourself, really speaking to people through your story and through yourself, and that connects with the sponsor. So that's the biggest misconception, is that you just show up, take a couple of photos, and you can get these sponsorships, and it's just not about that anymore. And so that once that's cleared up, we actually have fun with it. We have fun developing their business or their social media platforms that will attract the sponsors, and they have to have aligned sponsors as well.
Realistic approach as well. So there's going to be potentially someone that may not make it. Does that ever come into the frame where you are very honest, within the first few weeks and say, listen, I can't see potentially. Does that ever happen?
It doesn't with my students, because beforehand I don't like to call it vetting, but I do
Okay.
sit with them, and I want to know their expectations. I want to know what they're looking for, because I will actually, and I have turned students away who just want freebies.
Right.
This has nothing to do with free stuff. This is
Hmm.
about an exchange of service and really having passion for both yourself and your followers and your sponsors.
Hmm.
So when I know that, I'll just say, we're not aligned for that. This isn't about that. This is actually, I'm teaching you something that's going to carry on for years if you want it to, if that's what you want. In terms of a guaranteed sponsorship, my guarantee is that I never leave them their side until they get that first sponsor and beyond. So my mastermind is a lifetime access mastermind. If you want to hop on 2 years from now and get the updated version of what's going on and want to figure out how to change up some things, I welcome that. You're in the private Facebook group forever, and you have contact with me forever after that year, because it's very important for me, for my students to know that I want their success. And so it's one of my students got a sponsorship in 6 weeks, and someone else had one in a year, but it's all based on what they're how much they implement and how long it takes and where they are in the process when they join.
Yeah, I think someone that gets it within 6 weeks, they might think, wow, I've hit the gold jackpot, really. And someone
Right.
who's taken it and it's taken them a year, they might think, have I made that right decision? I guess, how do you keep someone like that motivated still to do the right thing, to let them know it will happen, but you need to follow the steps that I've coached you
Right.
on?
So that's the beauty of a mastermind. We're all very supportive of each other. We all help with, they all get together and help even outside. Some of the students even get together outside. I had 2 students get together in South Africa in the past last month and spent 3 weeks on sponsorship together. So that is the beauty of a mastermind. We support and help each other. I do a lot of mindset work in my program as well, because it does, like you said, some people hit the ground running and just don't give up, and then other people take a little bit longer, and that's okay. It really is okay. But you do have to keep them motivated, and you have to keep them on track. And that's what I'm there for, and that's what the mastermind is there for. But every one of my students that take the strategies and take the tools that I give them, they all succeed in getting a sponsorship.
I wrote a blog a few months back, and it was to do with how travel influencers and the bloggers sometimes want shortcuts. So they want to get there without actually doing the hard work. And
Right.
I wasn't, I guess I was quite critical in that blog. But the reason why I was is because, as you just said, that you don't potentially the way that brands and other sponsors want to work with people is building a relationship so you can work with them
Exactly.
for longer and get them success. And I always say when you approach a brand, it's how you can help them. A lot of bloggers and influencers are all about how they can help, me, or
Exactly.
and I think, as you were saying there, it's probably now a trend. And the blogging and the influencing world is very relatively new still, isn't it? So we're talking
Hmm.
maybe 10, maybe 15. Well, blogging's been
Right.
around for about 15 years.
Yes.
Influence as well has been, I would say, in the last 5 to 7 years has become
Hmm.
major. But
Right.
I think, as you were saying there, the shortcuts is what people want, and it's trying to get there without actually putting in the hard work. And I think that is where
Exactly.
a lot of people fail and think to themselves, you know what, I, let's make a quick. And you were saying there as well before, people want freebies.
Hmm.
I think that also harms the industry. Would you not
It
say that
does.
that actually really harms? Because then I would go in and talk to a brand, and they say, "Oh, actually, no, I can do it with someone else because we can. They're offering their service for free, and it actually doesn't help all round." I think that's a major fault at the moment within the
Right.
industry.
It is, and that's why the sponsors, all of them now. One of the questions I ask when I get a sponsorship, I'm to the point now that I've been doing it so long, I don't have to pitch for a sponsor anymore. Like I just put this earlier this year in March, I said, going back to my home country, my heart country, Italy, at the end of September, and I filled my calendar for 7 weeks in 1 week with sponsors. They just contacted me constantly. And so that's the idea for my students too. But that's because I've built that relationship, I've built that integrity, and I've built that my own brand because I do care about the end result, which is the sponsors being happy and my students succeeding way more than I care about me. Like, the success and the money that I make is a byproduct. I see it rather than, because I want to see them succeed. I started this with a drip course, and less than 1% of people were finishing that drip course. And that wasn't okay for me. Like I, I wanted them to succeed. That just wasn't okay. So I now teach everything live. I do not teach with drip course. It's a live program. It's a live teaching program, and I get back to you within 24 hours, no matter where I am in the world. I have a Voxer access, which is like a walkie talkie, and I offer that to my students. So it's so important to develop that relationship. And the sponsors are getting tired of asking for freebies. A photo in front of the hotel or at the hotel pool is no longer acceptable in a trade for a room that's $300 a night. It's just not. And so, they're getting tired of that. And that's the one thing I ask every time. Why did you choose me? I want to know, and I want to make sure that I'm delivering for them. And that's the answer. They're getting very tired of just the one snap pictures or maybe a live once in a while. And then people are coming and asking for ridiculous things like, penthouses and in luxury hotels for a week at Valentine's Day. It just doesn't make any sense. You just wouldn't do that. So, but that's where it's gone. It's gone that way because in the beginning, the sponsors realized this was a great way for advertisement. And when it was just about the numbers or the thumbs up, that was okay. but it's not any longer. It's more about that relationship, and I'm proud to say that, I'm teaching people the right way to develop that kind of relationship with the sponsor.
I just want to make sure people get this. So you would get a sponsorship, and they would. You were talking about getting freebies or getting a hotel stay. Do they directly pay you to say, right, okay, we want you to do this with us, and the contract might be, I don't know, let's just say a month or so. Does that how it work, or do you get?
No,
So is
it's an
it
exchange. It's a total exchange of service. So
okay?
they're going to give me the best of them because they know that I'm going to give them the best. And what I do for me specifically,
Mm,
I create, because I use my background in my corporate world, I create professionally shot and edited videos for them. And they can use them on their website. They can use them on YouTube. They can use them on social media, and they can use them on their, wherever they want. I give it to them fully edited. And then I'll also sometimes give them the raw footage too, if they want to use that wherever. I am also the editor in chief of the Hotel Guide, which has 24 million subscribers. And while it's not a numbers game, those are paid subscribers.
mhm.
So they're going to be engaged because they're paying for that subscription. And so I give them a feature in that magazine as well. And then I just promote them, like I said, before my visit, during my visit, and after my visit. So they get lots of coverage. And because I'm an over deliver girl, I'll keep going. I mean, throughout the year, throughout the next year, throughout 2 years, I'll pop a picture and say, thinking of my beautiful sponsorship with the name of the hotel, and I'll tag them and say, highly recommend them. It's just something that I love to do. I'm passionate about it, so I'm happy to do that, and they know that. So it's that quality that you're giving them. It's that connection. So I've done and stayed everywhere. I've been to 54 countries on sponsorship. If I calculated, it's probably $500,000 worth of sponsorship so far. I've stayed in villas that were $900 a night and hot air balloons. I've trekked to Rwandan mountains and seen the gorillas, and I've done it all. But again, it's really the connection with the sponsors. I'm invited back to come for nothing, no exchange whatsoever by all of them. So it's a beautiful way to see the world and to really leave your mark, so to speak.
So if you get sponsors and it's not technically paying you, but you're getting
Hmm.
all these free hotel
Hmm.
stays, whatnot, can you actually quit your job as a full-time worker and then live this life? Or do you have to have, say, if you are a freelancer, still work, but also you're going to get this luxury from the sponsors? I guess it might be a bit well, if you get sponsors, if you whoever you're working with, you can say, right, okay, I'm actually working alongside some of these sponsors. Potentially, you can get work through that way anyway, couldn't you? Potentially.
You could. So how I've monetized my business, I've created this business. I of course have the program that I have, the mastermind, and I do some one-on-one coaching as well. But how I monetize is because of my background, I can do social media marketing for some of my sponsors, and I do. So it depends on what your specialty is. I don't have one student who actually does this as much as I do. Not one of my students is a perpetual traveler that does this because it is something that I've chosen. I have given up everything. I don't own a home, I don't own a car. I've given up everything to do this and to live what I teach. But you can, so it depends on what you're doing. I have a digital entrepreneur she's a student of mine. She does this on occasion because she's a retreat leader, and that's what she teaches, and she gets her money that way. But she goes in and experiences the resort or the villa, wherever she's going to go in that country, through sponsorship first, so that she knows that it's a fit, and then the sponsor knows she's going to bring people back. So it depends on what you do, what your specialty is. You certainly can convert your sponsor into a paying client. Many of my clients do, photographers specifically, videographers, drone experts. They'll convert them because that's a service that that the sponsor needs. So it just depends on what you do. And we dive into that in the mastermind as well, because some people don't realize they actually can make either do a side business or actually can leave corporate and open their own digital business and do this in conjunction with whatever they're doing.
And how have you coped through the pandemic? Has it affected business?
It actually was better. I was very blessed.
Oh,
And the
okay.
reason why is people had time to learn. This, I think the one thing that the pandemic taught everybody is, you know what? We can work from anywhere. We can work from home. Why don't I, follow my dreams and do something that I want to do, and then incorporate sponsored travel into that as well, especially travel lovers, of course. So I was really lucky in that my business grew pretty much through the pandemic. Yeah.
In terms of challenges, competitors, there are obviously going to be quite a lot of other competitors out there. How do you differentiate yourself with other competitors out there, other people who are going to do exactly the same thing?
I'm very lucky in the fact that there is no one out there that teaches what I teach.
Oh,
There's no one
okay.
out there that
So you're
teaches
very
it the way
unique.
I teach it. I'm very unique. So there are people, of course, people travel on sponsorship, and a lot of them use that word. Get free stuff. I don't do that. I teach the entire. I teach you how to build either a business or a reputation from the beginning. Through your social media, through messaging, through all of those things to actually the sponsor. So, and I also don't see people as competitors. There's 7 billion of us on this planet, and there's enough for everyone. And I find it, it's wonderful. If you do the same thing, that's absolutely wonderful. But I've been very lucky in the fact that my program is so unique that there isn't another one out there like it. So very proud of that as well.
And how competitive are your prices then for your course?
I try to understand that, people are, so I'm it's very competitive. I'm not as comparatively to other masterminds. I am comparatively cheaper. So my yearly mastermind with the lifetime access is 6,600, and then I have a payment plan. And most other masterminds are at least 10 grand. So I try to be, I get it. I know how I was when I started out, and I wanted to do something so badly and didn't have the funds for it. And that's important for me too, because the more people I can help to realize their dream, the better.
And you said you can do like a monthly plan and instead of
I
paying it
do.
all at
Yes, I can
once.
do it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Where would you like to see yourself and the business go next then?
Wow, that's a good question. I'm venturing into doing retreats. I'm having my second one in May. That teaches, so it's called a teach and live. So I will have people come and teach I will teach it in the morning, and then we'll go out and experience the sponsorships. I've almost filled it already, so I'm very excited about that. And I think I'm going to do a couple. I'm going to incorporate more of those, and I just want to keep more people to just incorporate this, travel lovers to incorporate this into their life, because in the end it helps. What I focus on most is not the big hotels, not the big properties that have PR representatives and all those, they all have the marketing dollars. I like the boutique hotels. I like the family owned places that I travel for via luxury. But those are the people that maybe don't have the dollars, the marketing dollars, and they don't have the ability to really, get out there in the world. And since I sit on that global stage of social media, my passion is to help them. And so that's my target audience, my target sponsors. And so I'm teaching more of that so that a whole bunch of us could go out there and help people who maybe couldn't get their facilities or their services out in the global market.
If you become more and more busy, and if you're giving yourself and you are the person that's giving the coaching, do you have the time to coach everyone? Would there be enough time to coach everyone to say, okay, this is what we can do, this is the plan? Because obviously, if you've got hundreds of, clients, would you have that time to give them?
I'm going to make sure that I do. It's very important for me to do it. It's very important to me to do it. So yeah, I try my very best. I don't think that anybody probably could teach it the way that I teach it. I do have assistants. I do have a team,
Yeah, I was going to say
but
to
we
you,
do different.
would you have
Yeah.
assistants to help you out?
I do. I do have a team that helps me out with my social media. They help me out with my schedule. They help me out with, I give free master classes often in different groups and things. So they help me with that. But in terms of teaching the mastermind, I think that's why I like the mastermind platform, is because any number of people can join, and it'll be me teaching it. And then I have a few spots that are one-on-one because that can become quite cumbersome. I can only do so many in a week, so those are limited each year. But the mastermind is very. I can have up to, I've had up to 80 people at once do it. So
The mastermind is the actual program. So there's no other
mhm.
tiered program, so you don't have a standard, basic, or premium. So it's
No,
just one.
I have a 4-week program that gets your social media ready, because a lot of people don't understand that the social, even your profile pictures, those are windows, shop windows, and getting them ready and then learning how to message that attracts people. That's important too. And most people don't really understand that messaging is what keeps people connected. And so there's a 4-week program that gets you ready for that. And then that's also taught in the mastermind. But sometimes people just need a little, they want to get to know me, and then maybe they're not ready for the mastermind. And so that's a way to get to know me as well. And then I have what's called a VIP day, which is a 6-hour day spent with me that I will go through everything. Well, I'll help you with your niche and your social media and kind of give you the basics so that you have, a platform to stand from.
When I switched my profile picture, everything, things started to change. So your social media, your profile picture, actually the way you word things on your
Yes,
profile makes a massive difference,
it
because
does. Yeah.
I've been very fortunate, ever since I made the switch, managed to get various different jobs, and it's been fantastic. And I
Mm.
think people don't realize how important, how powerful a
Yeah.
social media profile can be. And
It
obviously, you're
absolutely
representing
is. Yeah.
yourself, aren't you? So if you
You
represent
are.
yourself very
You are.
professionally, people will see it, and people want to
Mhm.
potentially want to work with you.
There's this very good statistic, and it's a little tip for people. So, the human eye processes things 60,000 times faster than you read it than when you read it. So, so you have a short window, but they will process that. So you want to make sure that when they're landing on that, any of your social media, they know immediately what your passion is, what you do, what you stand for in pictures, and it's just a phenomenal way to get attention, as you've noticed.
Since you started traveling and the kids are all grown up, what would you
Mhm.
say has been one of your most transformative moments?
I turned 50 in August of 2015, and in September I was knocked off my feet with a very unexpected divorce, and so that threw me into just a complete tailspin. I didn't know where I was going to go, what I was going to do. I happened to be in Singapore. I had no way of getting back to the US to any support system, so I literally had to start over. I had 16 cents in the bank.
Oh
So,
wow, that's
yeah, so I was literally like in 30 seconds was like my life completely changed. So I turned to travel to heal me, and I immediately did what I needed to do. I sold what I needed to sell, and I knew that I needed to heal myself before I could go on to help anybody, to do anything really. And I went to Italy. I That was my very first trip to Italy, Tuscany specifically. I spent 3 months there. Just falling in love with myself, I should say, and really healing and working with. I was able to make enough money on the side. I was able to do some things that I was able to make enough money to hire a coach and work through some things. So that was my transformative moment, because I realized at 50 years old I had to start over, and I wanted to do life my way, and that's exactly what I've done. So here it is 6 years later. In September, it'll be 6 years later. And I am grateful for it, for what happened, because I am living my dreams and I'm helping other people live theirs. And it's just an amazing place to be.
a bit of a wake up call as well. Maybe,
Yeah.
as you said, you had 16 cents in your bank account. Maybe not rely upon, I guess, people listening as well. Anything can happen in your life, and you really got to find a way of picking yourself up again. And
Right.
I guess you had your moment at the age of 50 at that time. By the
Hmm.
way, you don't look definitely do not look in your 50s at all. I don't know
Oh,
what you're
thank you.
don't know what I think the weather is probably what's keeping you looking young anyway. What's it like having, grandkids and stuff? And obviously
It's
they don't get to see you as much because you're always on the road, but saying that, I think these days with technology, you can see one another
yes,
now, but
yeah,
years ago it wasn't the case, was it? So what's it like
right.
having grandkids and having?
It's wonderful, and they think I'm the coolest grandmother ever.
I can
So
imagine.
I'm part of all kinds of school projects and stuff because they have this little map and they play where in the world is grandma now. So it's very cool, and I've been blessed to be able to take some of my children on sponsorship.
Oh, okay.
And my oldest granddaughter is 14, and when she turns 16, we have a very epic trip to France, Italy, and Greece planned. So it's really wonderful. I love being able to pass on them the life of traveling, the world of traveling, so that they can be very accepting of all cultures and people and art, and it's just an amazing thing to be able to pass on to them. So while I might not make cookies in the kitchen, I'll certainly bring them to a place where they can get delicious cookies. So
When you're away for such a long time, I guess don't get to see your family. It doesn't. I assume it doesn't really affect you because obviously the fact that you do have the technological aspect of you can see
right,
you
right.
sit. But if it wasn't the case, I assume you'd want to go and see your grandkids and whatnot a bit more.
Exactly. Then if there wasn't such thing as, Zoom or FaceTime, WhatsApp, then obviously I wouldn't travel for, 3 months at a time. So generally I'm never away for more than 3 months. I'll travel back and forth. I did live in Italy for 7 months once because I was working with some vineyards there, but I had FaceTime and I had Zoom. So that was okay. But yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice to be able to see them whenever I want.
The question I always ask is, what does travel mean to you? From what you've just explained there, in terms of the transformation in your life, I assume it means a lot to you then.
It really does. Travel is life for me. It really is. I can't imagine a life without travel. It just wouldn't be the same, and I don't know that I'd be happy without it.
I've got friends all around the world as well, and we can stay in touch. And the reason why we're still friends is because of travel. And as I said to you earlier, technology has helped us. So I don't actually feel as though, when like pre-pandemic, I was seeing a lot of them every year because we'd meet up, and it wouldn't feel as though time had passed because we were so in contact. But 20 years ago, it wasn't the case. You'd probably have to write a letter, or you
Yeah,
couldn't see one another via video. Nowadays, it's so easy now, and it's
yeah.
made things so much more better, I think.
I think so too. I really do. It's amazing. You just have to, just pick up the phone or pick up your, computer and just press a button and you can be inside someone's house. And it's an amazing way. And I do have family all over the world. No friends, all family.
That's actually, I did say that to someone the other day. Actually, you're building families around the world, and you can.
Hmm.
They are what they are, family at the end of the
Right.
day. So it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yep.
Just before I let you go, where can people find you?
Sure. At Seriously Travel on all on all social media everywhere. Anything you pick, I'm pretty sure I'm on it. And then Marie at seriouslytravel.com is my email address. So if somebody wants to email me, that would be great and ask any questions. But yeah, I love connecting. So I'm likely to say, do you want to hop on a Zoom? So
Well, Marie, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time, and I'll speak to you very soon.
thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
A fascinating discussion, and if you'd like to follow or get in touch with Marie, you can do so. All of the details are on your screen now. That's it for Take a One No Shebs. Hope to see you all very soon. Until next time, bye for now.